Hello, friends. Welcome back to Advanced Weekly Update. It's time to update you on the month. We're in the month of December. Peter, you were singing the other day in our chapel at work. Can you sing us a Christmas carol? What's the first one that comes to your...
First one that comes to mind, I guess, is Silent Night, Holy Night. Of course, it helps if you both sing it in the same key. But,
there we go. Yeah.
That's the song. You probably know it.
We want to go caroling today. Caroling is something we'll talk about. I'd really like to introduce some high-level vocabulary for you to use this holiday season. You've seen it in movies, you've definitely seen it on cards, but what is this season all about? Question for you guys, what does Christmas mean to you? We think of Christmas these days as kind of a Western holiday. It originated actually in the Middle East, we'll talk about that, but it definitely has this kind of red and white Northern Europe kind of feel these days, the way it's often celebrated, right?
Well, it's become very commercial. West is basically capitalist societies, and so there's always, in any cultural thing, there's always thinking, how can we make money out of this? How can we benefit economically?
And the Coca-Cola Corporation actually had this great advertisement for Santa as this fat little guy in a red outfit, and that became the predominant Santa image for a long time.
This isn't just John looking stylish. This is a deliberate reference to Santa Claus.
Yeah, I had some polar bear fur. And so also along with our poll question, which is coming in, which our options are, it's just another day, it's a day for shopping, it's a romantic day, I know here in Taiwan, or it's a religious day. You know, it's Christmas, so we'll talk about what that word Christ and Christ means. What is your favorite holiday? We also want to know. Respond in English below. Hit subscribe, hit that join button. And let's get into it. We've got some vocabulary for you today. First of all, this word Yuletide. I made you sing on the spot because there is a song that says Yuletide carols being sung by a choir and folks dressed up like Eskimos.
Right.
And that's White Christmas, a very famous song.
That is, and I'll give you a little bonus. Yule is a Swedish word originally. In English, it is used to refer to Christmas, but it's a Swedish word originally for a festival that goes back over 1,000 years in wintertime called Jul. And I once was in a choir in college, and we sang a song that had Jul in the name and in the lyrics. It went, Jul, Jul, strålande jul, glans över vita skogar. Now that's just the tenor part, so it might not sound as impressive as it does in four-part harmony. But Yule, yeah, it's a festival that's still celebrated in Scandinavia, Northern Europe, and but in Western culture generally, it is synonymous with Christmas.
That's right. So we call Christmas time Yuletide or Yule time. There's this thing called a Yule log that you might also see in your reading. A Yule log is this giant log of wood that lasts for a long time. It's kind of the special log that keeps the fire going, and you bring out the Yule log in the middle of winter as a way to warm the whole house and kind of celebrate. So the Christmas season on December, the timing of it is right with those midwinter holidays in the north when people like to celebrate to keep their spirits up.
Right.
So we'll talk more about the meaning. But what about this other word, Christmas cheer? How do we keep our spirits up? How do we stay happy? Well, we have good cheer. What's cheer?
Cheer is positive energy. Happiness is kind of too deep a word for it. Cheer, two meanings actually. It can mean just a positive energy about a person or between two people, or it's also something you do at a sports event. You cheer for the team, and it has a positive association there. But the way we're talking about it here in connection to Christmas is more like an attitude, a state of being. So Christmas like cheer.
Cheer, like happiness, cheerful would be another adjective. Yeah. So he's cheerful, he's happy. Or like a cheerleader would make everybody go, yay!
Who leads the
Give a cheer. It's like, yay, cheers. You might say like, cheers to someone at New Year's. You toast them with your drink. Cheers.
Right.
Cheers is kind of like ganbei. Ganbei is more like bottoms up. Right. Cheers is more like you click the glasses.
Right. And in British English, particularly, cheers means thank you. Yeah. Somebody, lends you some money. They say, cheers, mate. So and it's still got a positive connotation, no matter where you go, it always means something good or something with energy.
Yeah.
But it's,
you can actually say cheers like hi. Like, hey, cheers. Or it's kind of a bye, actually. It's like cheers is like bye. My grandma would always say cheers. My grandpa carved a tree one time. I put cheers on there because she would say it all the time. But what about Christmas food? There's one Christmas food that everybody loves to hate, and that is the fruitcake. The fruitcake, at least in the US, has become kind of a joke. I personally think that if you get a good fruitcake, it's amazing. But a fruitcake is a heavy cake that's very moist and has all these dried fruits or kind of dried candied fruits in there. It's supposed to keep for a long time. And often the joke in movies is, oh, you gifted someone a fruitcake, that's a bad gift. But for all you fruitcake lovers out there, I think a fruitcake is a great gift.
Right. Fruitcake can be a bad gift in a way that other gifts aren't bad gifts, because a bad fruitcake is really, it's like a bowling ball almost. They overdose on the heaviness and the thickness, and it'll be full of all this stuff that'll rot your teeth. It often has alcohol in it sometimes. You won't get drunk from eating a fruitcake, but it's just a sense of how rich and sort of excessive sometimes a fruitcake can be.
Yes, don't call your friends a fruitcake. It's kind of an insult these days to say someone's sort of out of their mind. Okay, so now we have the word carols. We talked about carolers. A carol is a song for Christmas.
A song for Christmas, and it's funny that we don't use the word carol for songs at any other time of year.
Not really.
There aren't Thanksgiving carols or birthday carols, just Christmas carols.
Yeah. My grandma's name is Carol, actually.
It's also a name.
It's also a name. So it's a woman's name. A carol, is a Christmas song celebrating Christmas. Yeah. Carolers are the people that go caroling.
Right.
Caroling is when a big group of people go out and go caroling. My little sister is an amazing singer. She was part of a professional caroling group, and they caroled at Kim Kardashian's Christmas party.
Well, there's some alliteration.
And at Disney. So they were in Los Angeles. They'd go around. All right, but what do carolers wear? Well, one thing they wear are earmuffs. A muff is something that warms you up, like a little furry piece of, you can have a muff for your hands.
Right, it's like gloves for your ears or mittens for your ears.
A muffler for your car is the part that makes the car quiet. A muffler deadens the noise. But muffs for your ears keep your ears nice and warm. So fluffy ear muffs are fun. Now for one of the most classic pieces of Yuletide decoration, the mistletoe. Mistletoe is a type of tree. It's got kind of spiky leaves on the end, and it's usually green in winter.
And a little berry, right?
That's right, a little red berry, I think.
Red berry, yeah.
But the mistletoe is something that people hang at a party, and supposedly anybody who's under the mistletoe has to kiss. So that's the Christmas tradition. So look out for mistletoe at the party. Now we also have another type of food. This is really good, but it's controversial. Eggnog. How would you describe eggnog?
Eggnog is like a milkshake. It is usually sugar, cream, milk, raw eggs, all mixed up together, very often with some alcohol as well. So it's this thick, heavy drink, often served warm.
Yeah.
And that's why it got associated with Christmas. It's the closest thing to think of is it's like a milkshake,
and it has
thick milkshake.
Did you say nutmeg already? I think it's got some nutmeg in there.
Okay. You could put nutmeg on it.
It's a seasoned creamy drink with some cinnamon.
Right.
You can add a lot of things to eggnog, but it's a holiday drink. It's definitely one of those foods you need to try if you're in the U.S. or in the West, like during the Christmas season. You might love it, you might hate it. It divides people, kind of like fruitcake.
Yeah, just beware that it may have alcohol in it if that's an issue for you. Because we talked about fruitcake sometimes has alcohol, but you won't get drunk off of fruitcake, which is true. But eggnog could put you under the table if you drink too much of it too quickly.
Yeah, be careful out there. But from the grocery store, you're normally okay. Who knows? Finally, this word tinsel and the fir tree. Okay, we'll put these together. We've heard of a Christmas tree, right? You know what a Christmas tree is. Tinsel is something special that is a useful word. We decorate Christmas trees sometimes with this thing called tinsel. I don't think we do that anymore because it's not very environmentally friendly. But tinsel is...
It depends what it's made of. Tinsel is like somebody took a sheet of tin foil and sliced it up into very thin strips and then hung it on the Christmas tree. That's basically what it is. It's this shiny, glittery stuff.
Like strings of almost metal. You
like
said
ribbons.
tin foil, which is what you bake with.
Right,
big metal sheet that you can wrap.
It's looser than tinfoil, but that's just to give you a visual.
Yeah.
It's just, it looks silvery ribbons, you might say.
That's right. Okay, so we also, B, why is it controversial? It's controversial because it's one of those foods that people either love or they hate. You know, so it's kind of a joke. It's controversial because sometimes people that love eggnog always want to bring a lot of it, and people that dislike eggnog are like, no, it's gross. Maybe it's that way with like chou tofu or something like that. I'm actually really curious. Are there foods in Taiwan that are that divide people? You love them or you hate them? I'm pretty sure there are. And
Selena has a good comment here. What it calls hot red wine with spices.
You call that mulled wine. M-U-L-L-E-D wine. So mulled means to mull actually can mean to think and kind of think through your thoughts. So if something is mulled, it means it's kind of broken down and cooked normally. You've cooked and stirred the wine with the spices.
But you drink enough mulled wine and you won't be doing a lot of mulling. If you
No, you won't. Your thoughts will be muddled. M-U-D-D-L-E-D.
Yes.
Muddled means
muddled
confused.
From the mulled wine.
Mulled wine does taste nice. All right, so now let's talk about the meaning of Christmas. What does Christmas actually mean? Now, in the winter time, Christmas is not the only holiday in the U.S. And actually, one of them is a lot smaller. Kwanzaa. This is an African. It's a celebration of like freedom for African Americans. It's kind of an African American holiday that I don't know a lot about the history, so I don't want to do it injustice. But Kwanzaa is basically a celebration of African heritage during the winter time. Now, there's another holiday for Jewish people called Hanukkah. Hanukkah is where you get the menorahs. Like a candle with, I believe, 7 branches. And it actually is also kind of a holiday celebrating freedom from a war long ago, but is a time for family to come together at Hanukkah and basically celebrate midwinter. Right.
Celebrate midwinter and celebrate one of the many deliverances of the Jewish people historically by their God.
That's right. So the Hanukkah candle comes from a story where these candles during a siege kept burning for a long time. But now the real meaning of Christmas, okay, we've got that word, C-H-R-I-S-T-M-A-S. You've got kind of 2 days, right? Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Christmas Eve is traditionally when families get together at night. Sometimes they go to church, sing songs, light candles, kind of enjoy the quiet, sort of sad winter feeling, that darkness before the light. But Christmas Day is the day when Christ was born. So you've heard of Jesus, hopefully, at this point. Jesus is called the Christ. So if I said someone is christened, what does that mean?
That means they have been given the name of something. Like I was christened Peter. He was christened John. Yeah. You hear it sometimes when a boat is being launched. It will be christened, and somebody breaks a bottle of champagne on the hull of the boat and it slides into the water from the dock, and that is the christening of the boat.
Traditionally, christening is something that happens to kings. And christen means, there's also another word that you'll probably never use, chrismation. But chris means anointed. So anointed means having like an oil or a fragrance, a good smell. Normally when there's a new king there, they have christened on them, kind of like a boat would be christened.
Right,
and it's a way of saying that this is the chosen one, basically. So Christ is called Jesus is called the Christ or the Messiah, which means christened one
the deliverer.
In Hebrew.
Yeah.
Cool. So what's up with Jesus, the Messiah, the Christ? Well, we've got the Christmas story where this woman named Mary and the man she is engaged to each have these visions that God will give Mary a baby. She'll just have a baby without any human father. And so this is a miracle. This is Jesus coming to the world to be the Son of God. So the story about Christmas is the story about God's Son coming into the world. And we celebrate that special day because it's basically a birthday party.
Right.
Yeah, it's a birthday party for Jesus. So we call this the Nativity. Nativity, you know the word native, right? If I say I'm a native English speaker, it means I was born and speaking English right from my first word.
Right, yeah.
So you could be a native speaker or just a native to a country.
Yeah.
The prefix N-A-T for like natal means birth, right?
Has to do with birth. Yeah. So the nativity It means, in one sense, the birth of Jesus, like we were saying, but it also describes, if you are walking in a more Western area of Western culture, you might see out on the street little statues showing the birth of Christ, and that is called a nativity scene.
Yeah, a nativity scene, very popular as like a lawn decoration.
Yes,
during
lawns
Christmas
in
time.
particular, also outside churches or sometimes in store windows too. To get your attention, they'll put a nativity scene, which is again just a depiction of the birth of Jesus.
It's really helpful to know if you're buying Christmas cards. A lot of times there will be a little barn, which is the little stable. What happened is that Mary and Joseph were traveling when the baby was born. There was no space for them to stay. So the baby Jesus ended up being born in a barn. And so you'll see a picture of this little barn, normally with animals, and then a man and a woman and a baby. So that's Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus. But you have these other characters in the nativity scene that are written from history. You've got a group of shepherds that are visited by angels and told to go find this baby in the barn.
Right.
So we always have, do you know what a shepherd is, by the way?
Shepherd, someone who looks after the sheep.
Yeah.
Usually carries a big curved stick of some sort. That's the way you can recognize him. At least in old times. Nowadays, shepherds probably carry smartphones and wear modern clothing and such. But
trucks and four-wheelers. Yeah.
The iconic shepherd is always someone with that big question mark shaped stick.
That's right, for grabbing the sheep. We call that a shepherd's crook. C-R-O-O-K. A lot of extra vocab here. But the shepherds have this vision of angels. They go to the nativity scene. They go see the baby Jesus and visit him. Now, the last vocab for you here today, we have the Magi. You've heard the word magic, right? Magic. Surely, Harry Potter is about magic. M-A-G-I. A magi or a mage, someone who practices wisdom and tries to kind of get understanding from their studies, basically. So it's a little bit different from a magician. But a magi is also known as a wise man. So for Christmas, we've got these characters called the wise men.
Right. They come from undefined, unspecified place in the East, roughly from Jerusalem, actually, from the Middle East. It's in the newspapers a lot today. But these magi came from countries to the east of Jerusalem, probably in Asia, and brought gifts to the child Jesus. When exactly they brought them, in terms of what's recorded in the Bible, is a bit different from what you often see in Christmas decorations. They seem to come on the same night as the birth, and that's different from what's in the biblical account. But just so you know, a lot of them with the baby in the nativity scene, we said earlier, and the Magi coming there. So take that with a grain of salt.
Yes. So that's the last part of the story. There is this star that's seen in the sky.
By them.
By the Magi.
Yeah.
The Magi see this star of Bethlehem. Bethlehem is a place in the modern day West Bank. It's a little town. And I actually had my first birthday in Bethlehem. My parents were there at the time. Amazing. But it's just a little town in the middle of nowhere. And the Magi see a star. It stands out. They say, this must be the star for a king. So they travel and eventually come and bring this baby from nowhere, just these presents. And it ends up being Jesus, who goes on to live this amazing life that you can check out more on our Bible Talk channel. We talk more about the meaning of Christmas, why we talk about Santa so much. And that's all the time we have for today. But I hope you learned something about the Magi, the Yuletide, or maybe eggnog. Go try some eggnog.
Yeah. Quick shout out too to Carl. Carl, thanks for saying hi yesterday as I was coming out of the 7-Eleven. Glad that we're reaching you with our show. Hope you keep watching.
Yeah. We appreciate you guys. Merry Christmas season, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.